Hello and welcome to the More to Life podcast. I am your host, Elle Mace, and today I am joined by Adam Clayton. Adam is a former professional rugby player, now business owner. Hey, Adam.
Hey Elle, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, very well, thank you.
Well,
Doing
thank you
good.
so much for coming. Now, I'm going to pass over to you to do a better introduction than what I've just given you. So just tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you for that. And firstly, thank you for having me on. Really appreciate that. It's great to reconnect with you, Elle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was former professional rugby player. Played for about 8 years before rupturing my ACL and blew my knee out. And I was spent a couple of years down in the physio room at Cornish Pirates before, unfortunately, having to hang the boots up. I think that was roughly kind of 2012. And then off the back of that, I kind of went down into the events industry. So I set up a sports events business, ran sports events for several years, and then more recently set up an ultra challenge event as well as another business called Silver Snug, which is to help protect our children and our loved ones from EMF radiation. So it's a little niche, but it's as we're all aware, radiation is around us, and it's just there to help protect our kids. So that's a little plug for the business. Thank you for that, Elle. But on a personal note, I am married, beautiful wife, Laura, 3 kids. So along with running a business, I have my hands full with the kids.
Yeah, yeah, busy. You are an entrepreneur, though. I've known you for quite a few years, and then you're always got your fingers in lots of pies. There's always lots going on for you. It's good. It's really good. And I've got a blanket coming, so I will be plugging your blanket as well.
That's it. Thank you. Hopefully you like it.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so I've got so many questions to ask you. I'm really pleased that you are here today because we do not naturally have more female guests, especially when we're talking about body image and relationship to ourselves and food. So I'm just buzzing that you're here because it's quite hard to get males on here who have had an experience and are open to talking about it and being super vulnerable. So fab. The first thing I want to just go back to then is when you said 2012 that you got these injuries and then you had to obviously hang your boots up. That must have been that must have been really hard for you, a really hard time.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I don't think at the time I really processed it. I
Yeah.
think my coping mechanism was just I'd always kind of been told to just carry on, you just graft on, whatever happens, whatever it takes, just keep going. So I was dealt the card of your career is over. Um, and that for me is obviously devastating at the time to never kind of have that professional career. I was, and so I kind of just, in a way, internalized everything. I didn't
Mhm.
kind of talk about it. I just kind of, right, that's it. That's one book closed. I'm on to the next chapter. And then I was kind of decided to go down the events route. It probably wasn't actually until later where I really kind of probably 2 or 3 years later where it then all started, those emotions all started coming back, and I kind of could feel the loss and kind of or the what ifs, or all these kind of things you question about yourself and the decisions you made while playing, or decisions I made while playing rugby. And if that route was ever going to be there, but unfortunately it wasn't. It got cut short. But it's rugby. You have to, at the end of the day, it's a physical sport, it's a contact sport. You are going to get injuries. So I think that was another thing that I kind of always thought about, is like, I played that sport. It was my choice to play it. I loved it. I was very thankful and very grateful for having 8 years as a professional rugby player, doing what I absolutely love. Unfortunately, it wasn't for me, that I wasn't going to make it to the Premiership or to England and have a big career. But that's life, I guess.
That's such a healthy way to look at it. Like you didn't, yeah, I mean, you might have had your heart set on it, but you also had other things that you could do, like going into the events in industry. You obviously had an interest there. I think that's key, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. It wasn't. I guess that was actually a natural. That happened naturally. I think I lost a good friend of mine. At the same time as ending my career, a cricketer called Tom Maynard, who was unfortunately he was on the train tracks and he got killed by a train. So that was back in 2012. He was playing for Surrey at the time. He was a good school friend, and then there's a group of us from school who set up a memorial dinner for him to raise funds, a scholarship foundation, to send a deserved kind of underprivileged sports person back to Milford, where we all kind of grew up and met. And that was my first real kind of insight into the events. It was more of a charity project to remember Tom Maynard, and then off the back of that, it was okay, I kind of not playing rugby anymore. I really enjoyed doing that event. You know, what else can we do? And at the time, my father was running a few cycling events, so it kind of naturally progressed into that. And yeah, I kind of formed a love and enjoyment for it.
Amazing. That's so good. Okay, so actually, it was a few years later that you had to kind of go back and do the work of, like that happened. That was a change. I'm not doing what I love anymore.
Exactly, yeah. And I guess kind of obviously I'm always open about this kind of stuff. And I think when my career ended, I I kind of was, I guess I was struggling to accept it, but I wouldn't really talk about it. And one of the way I was coping about it, I decided to take a route of performance enhancing drugs, steroids, basically, to
Yeah.
try and get my knee better. And that was the whole reason why I started taking steroids. And that was in 2012, 2000, yeah, as soon as the career finished, was the reason for my knee to try and get that better. Um, and then as I've got an addictive personality, I quickly became addicted to it and the kind of the physical appearance it gave me. And then it quickly turned into, okay, it was trying to do it for my knee, but actually I'm not, it became more of an identity piece. I'm not Adam Clayton, the rugby player anymore. I'm Adam Clayton, he's in good shape because of that external appearance I had, by being big and strong, and I looked very fit. Um, but yeah, so that quickly became my appearance, my identity, which then, probably 8 years later, from 2012 to 2018, 19, I think it was when I had that realization of like, what am I doing to my body?
Okay. Oh my God, so many questions. So firstly, 2012 to 2018, were you open that you were taking steroids? Did people know, or were you kind of like trying to keep it on the down low?
It was all very much a secret. Yeah,
Yeah.
no one knew. I mean, it was very obvious, but I would always deny it. I mean, there were points where I would kind of, I managed to get, I should say, I managed to get after 2 years being out of rugby, I managed to get back playing rugby, and I dropped down a few leagues, and I really enjoyed playing in the national leagues. Train once a week and then go out and play on a Saturday. I mean, I wasn't the same player, but I managed to get through it, and I'd be in agony for a couple of days later with my knee and my hamstring and everything, but I would manage to kind of pull my body through. But that was when I was very much in the thick of taking a lot of steroids at the time. And there was a point where I would kind of go into the toilets before a rugby match and put a needle in me so I could have my hit of testosterone and go out and play. And that was all very much a secret. No one kind of knew about that stuff. There'd be, my bag of steroids would be in my kit bag before a game, and I'd carry it around with me. And it was kind of very, and I thought at the time, I kind of thought, it was okay, I guess. I thought it was normal. I guess I kind of normalized it in my own mind. But really looking back, and when I started to talk about it, it kind of quickly hit me that what I was doing was very unhealthy and not quite right, basically.
Yeah. So when you hit 2018 and you're like, okay, what am I doing to myself? What were the physical kind of side effects? What were you experiencing that made you realize, okay, this is not okay?
Um, because I think at that point, after being on it for such a long period of time, um, and getting my balances all kind of wrong, I guess, in terms of my hormonal balances. I was struggling. I guess I was started to struggle mentally as well at that point. I think because I kind of then everything was I was in balance completely with my hormones. Kind of I was thinking about the kind of the old rugby career and kind of what choices I made, and then living this kind of secret life of hiding things from a lot of people. I think it all started to come out, and I'd always be, the anxiety, the stress, the sweat. I'd go to a meeting, I would just come out soaking wet because of the anxiety, I guess, and everything in my body and the hormonal imbalance.
Mm.
I mean, there was a time in London that I'm very open about. Is I was on the way to a meeting. I kind of had a panic attack on the underground. I had to get myself off the underground. I don't really remember it too much at all. I came out of, I don't know where I was in London, maybe Liverpool Street or something, and I came out um, of the underground having this panic attack, sweating ridiculously. I walked in front of a car, not really knowing, kind of, I was in a complete daze, to be honest, and ended up in the back of an ambulance, and then in hospital. My phone had died, so no one could get hold of me. I then came out of the hospital, and went and found the safest place I thought would be. It was a Quaker house. So it's actually, I can laugh about it now because it is absolutely mental. And then I went and sat in this Quaker in this Quaker house for probably 7 hours on my own, in my hospital gown. It was completely nuts. And that was in 2018 or 2019. I know, it's and I look back now and I was in a dark place. And I didn't realize it, and I didn't talk about it, and then my wife, and then I kind of managed to get back in touch with my wife after several hours of no one being able to get in touch with me. I got a train back to Birmingham where she picked me up, and you can imagine what she was like when I've walked through the station at midnight, dressed in my hospital gown. No one spoke to me all day. I didn't make it to the meeting, and I think that was a big kind of turning point for me, and a realization point. It was like, it's not fair on my loved ones around me. Um, I got the whole health and fitness thing completely wrong. I thought I was being healthy by the way I looked and the way I kind of felt, but really it was not healthy at all. So I think and then I kind of went down this path of trying to help people within that health and fitness industry to kind of get them to understand the side effects around steroids, and how bad they can be. And as an 18-year-old lad, you speak to someone in the gym, and they're always trying to sell them steroids or whatever it is, and people have to realize that it's not the best way or the best route.
Yeah, it's
If that,
yeah, sorry, you carry on.
yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, so I kind of went down that route of, since 2018, I think it was, to really kind of and it was a path of growth for me as well, kind of personal development, and to understand the previous 8 years, kind of what has that all come to, and kind of why I was doing it. And then I found a real satisfying, I guess, kind of work, and really kind of enjoyed the work I was doing for a couple of years of kind of coaching people, I guess, in the importance of understanding the difference between health and fitness, and helping people kind of, yes, kind of get fit and look better and feel better, but also understanding the health benefits of why you'll do this. And you don't have to take performance enhancing drugs to look and feel good.
Yeah, I can imagine you helped so many people because, like you touched on earlier, you're like, it was a secret, but it was kind of obvious. And like, I see that in people, when I'm out and about
Mm.
in the gyms, you're like, it's kind of like, I know I'm not doing it, but you kind of, it looks like you really are. So I think people are in so much chaos with it, aren't they? So to have that soundboard of somebody who has kind of been there, done it, and relatable is amazing.
Yeah, thank you. It was kind of, once I kind of understood, I guess I came out of my own struggles, and kind of, once I understood that everything what was going on, and I came of that, and I went on a path of development. It was really rewarding work, to help other people. And yeah, like you said, it is very noticeable. I mean, I must have put on 3 stone in my face, because I was just so bloated. I couldn't see out my eyes. You look back at some of the photos now, and it was just mental.
Yeah.
I was probably 150. I'm now around 98 kilograms, which is my natural weight. I was then pushing over 115 kilograms in size. But with, I was below 10% body fat. So I looked, well, I thought I looked good, but really, it was very obvious that I was taking steroids, very unhealthy on all my organs, and the amount of stress I was putting my body under. And I mean, there was a point where I was so addicted to it. I got a hernia in my stomach, my belly button, from lifting weights, and I refused to go and get it sorted. So what I would do in the morning was just get some kind of rugby tape or tape you'd used to use to strap your legs or ankles, I think, wrap my body around so it would push my hernia back in my stomach so I could go and lift heavy weights. And I did that for a couple of months until the pain was just ridiculously kind of, I couldn't take the pain anymore and I had to go and get it sorted. But I was so worried about, okay, I'm going to go and get an operation. I'm not going to be able to train. I'm going to lose all my size and lose all my gains. So I'm not going to get my operation. I'm just going to kind of go through this pain of what I'm in. But so in the end, I went and got operated on. So, and I think my mum was very happy that I did, because she could see the pain I was in.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Like, this is like leaking into the body image, the body dysmorphia, because I know everyone will agree with me. You look amazing now. And actually, so like you look so much healthier and like better than when you were on the steroids. But for you in that moment, like, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? For the people supporting people who are like, you look incredible, your natural self. Like, why on earth would you want to change it? But when you were in it, I'm guessing your worth was so attached to your size.
Exactly that, yeah. And I didn't realize, I guess, at the time I had any issues. So I
Yeah.
didn't realize I had body image issues. I didn't realize I had an eating disorder. I didn't realize I was so extreme and had this addictive personality until I came out the end, the back of it. But yeah, like you say, now I just feel a lot better. I can move better. I can go outside and run around with the kids and play football. And whereas before I would go on run outside for 2 minutes and I'd be out of breath because I was so unfit because of the size of me.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, the whole body image thing is interesting. I mean, I still, I'm not going to lie. Now I still have moments where I'll never go back to what I was doing before, but I'm still very aware of that. I have to make myself aware of what I was then and what I am now, if that makes sense, in terms of um I guess, eating. I'm trying and be strict with my eating, but not be too strict. So I try and really enjoy kind of having a beer every now and again, or having some treats or having a pudding. Whereas before I really wouldn't do that. But I have to still work on that, if that makes sense. I have to always kind of work on myself to make sure I don't go back there, because I probably easily could, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't know when that turning point could be, like when you go into a high stress or a trauma or a loss or anything, and your
Yeah,
old coping mechanism will just be like, go back to that. It was safe, we felt good, etc. Yeah.
yeah,
People always ask me, can you get rid of an eating disorder? And like the answer is, for some people, it may lay dormant. For others, no. For others, yes. And like what you're saying there is, it resonates with me so much. Like I'm going to have to always work hard with mine. The voice is always
yeah.
somewhere. Sometimes I don't hear it. Sometimes I do. But like you, it's like I have to be ahead of it in order for it not to come back.
Exactly. I think that's it. You kind of always you kind of do what works for you. And over the years I've learned what works for me now. I don't have to go into the gym for 2 hours and push myself to extreme limits. I can go to the gym, I can do 30 to 40 minutes of a good workout, high intensity, and that's my happy place. I know if I do that 4 or 5 times a week, I keep my kind of my mental strength there as well. It really helps me mentally by doing that exercise. And I think that will always be in me to want to go and train. I don't think I'll ever lose that. And I'm very much kind of a routine person. As long as I know when I can train, and I've got my meals I know what I'm going to be eating and fueling myself on, and getting those healthy nutritional kind of food now. Whereas before I would kind of be so extreme, I wouldn't kind of touch anything for months and months and months, and then it would have a massive binge, where I would secretly eat pizzas and ice cream and sweets and chocolate all within about 24 hours, and then I'd feel horrendous and I'd go, just a cycle. I mean, you know better than me, it's that it's not a good place, I guess.
No, it's chaotic. It's awful. So you say you have an addictive personality. Now you're off the steroids. Your life was a lot calmer, more balanced in terms of like the health and fitness. Where do you channel that addictive personality? Is it showing up anywhere else?
Um, no, I think as long as it hasn't really, to be honest, too much. As long as, because I've got myself into a good place with my training and my exercising, because that is such a driver for me. It's pretty much a non-negotiable now, because I know if I don't train and exercise mentally, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be, we're kind of thinking about it, I'm not going to be performing as well in work if I haven't gone and kind of had my exercise and done my training like a dog. And I need to go and run. But yeah, I think from the addictive personality side of things, I know I could easily kind of fall back into that, whether that be on kind of drugs or alcohol or things like that. So I just have to really limit myself on, I do go out and have a good time, and when I meet up with the boys, we have a few beers and it's really good. But I know that I can't do that every weekend or every Friday night, because it will just, that then I will kind of feel my addictive personality coming out, where I will always I will want more of that because it was good. But I know I can't go down that route, because it's, I've got 3 kids, I've got work and priorities and things. So, and I want to live a healthy life.
Yeah, I know that was the old days, wasn't it? There was no
Exactly.
responsibilities. Someone actually asked me yesterday, can you remember what your life was like on a weekend before you had kids? And I was like, oh, it would have been bliss.
Yeah. I know.
So nice. So you touched on you had an eating disorder. This is like just so nice to hear, because there's so many men struggling with this but just can't talk about it. So what was going on for you with your relationship with food?
Yeah, I think like I touched on it, I was so strict with having to have my meals, having to have the certain macros, like the carbohydrates, the protein, the fats, everything had to be precise. I would weigh all my foods. I would take my Tupperware boxes with me everywhere I went, and in my backpack. So I'd know I'd get my 6 meals a day. That I would miss out on many social occasions, because I just I wouldn't go, because I couldn't control the food I was going to put in my body. So I kind of made a lot of sacrifices, and looking back, why, really regret kind of that, because I missed out on a lot of good times with friends and family, because I was so worried about my body image and the food. So kind of that was a kind of big opener for me as well, when I realized that I don't have to live like that. I can go to a barbecue and enjoy a burger and a bap, and a beer. It's mental, the way I kind of used to be with it. So yeah, so that kind of was one of the biggest issues, I think. And then it was just, I guess the eating disorder thing, be little things like, instead of having a little treat, which is, absolutely fine to do, I'd down a pint of water and go and brush my teeth in the middle of the day, because I knew that would stop me craving anything. Or when I first was dating my wife now, and I'd always have a pack of sugar-free polos on me, and instead of a pudding, I'd have a polo, because I had less than 10 calories in, and kind of I was just so I guess boring in a way, and so not dedicated, because I think that's the wrong word. It was
Yeah.
unhealthily kind of just living my life, I guess.
Yeah, and this is like its nickname is the life thief. And you're saying you missed out on so many social occasions there, which is what so many people are struggling with. And what's interesting there is, when you were dating, it gets in the way of so many people finding relationships, authentic relationships, and all the rest of it. So, how did you find that dating period living with this like disordered eating? Like, did you have to come up with lots of excuses, or how were you kind of navigating your way to seem this like really amazing person, but also all this other stuff that's going on?
Yeah, I think well, to be honest, I think I've got my wife to thank, really, for helping me kind of overcome everything,
Yeah.
in terms of coming off the steroids and my eating problems. Because I think I don't know why she carried on dating me, to be honest.
It's so boring.
I know. I think we when we because I went to her how we met. I went to one of her yoga classes. I got tipped off to go and to go to one of her classes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I went and she agreed to come on a date with me after. But yeah, I think it was difficult because I wouldn't, I didn't drink for the first 6 months of us dating. We would go out to have a drink and we go to a bar and I'd have a lime and soda water or something, and it actually, Laura doesn't drink, so it kind of worked in that sense. But the food, yeah, the food thing was always a bit of an issue in terms of you know weighing everything I ate, prepping my meals every night. And I wasn't a professional sportsman anymore. I wasn't a professional bodybuilder. I was just doing it for extrinsic kind of external benefits, I guess, because I was worried about what people would think about me in that identity piece. But it takes time. Like, it took me a good few years to really understand what I was doing. And Laura was kind of really great in terms of helping me kind of coach, and I opened up to her about everything and the steroids um, and because she didn't know kind of when we got together I was on it, because I was kind of denied it. And then um, I think one evening I just told her, and that's when kind of my path kind of changed. And then the episode happened in London on the Underground, and that's when it kind of really hit home.
Amazing. That moment, that like really vulnerable and probably like shit scary moment that you decided, I'm just going to tell her, is like the game changer.
Yeah, definitely. I remember it vividly. We were at a nice hotel on my birthday, celebrating my birthday, and it was just after dinner. I kind of just told her for some reason. I don't even know why, but I did. And then it kind of it did ruin the birthday weekend. But we were in a
You
good.
lied to me.
Yeah, I know. But she still agreed to marry me a couple of months later, so it was all
Oh,
good.
oh, lush. The thing is, her reaction was probably, I know, babe. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, I
honestly.
know. Yeah, yeah, I know. It
Oh,
was exactly that.
amazing. So I've got like one more question for you. So your body image, your relationship to your body, your kind of body dysmorphia piece, can you pinpoint at all what couple of things you think this has come down to, or that you can hook it into anything from, being younger, or why do you think you took up your body image took up so much of your headspace?
I think it was an identity piece. I think that's where it started. I think I lost my identity as a professional rugby player. Um, and then people would then notice or my body, and it was kind of, I then, I think quickly I kind of um, would get recognized, or people would talk to me and praise me for how good I look, and I was seeing that as very shallow, to be honest. And it kind of, it's not good saying that now, it doesn't feel good saying that now, and I think that's what I was then feeding on, was that um kind of that new identity of like, okay, he's not a rugby player anymore, but he's kept himself in great shape, and look at him now. um and then it just got worse and worse and worse from the back of that. So I think that's where it stemmed from. But I didn't notice or recognize it early enough, and then it became a very quick drug addiction, basically. And that was all for external factors.
Definitely. So you can't see any of your body image kind of traits from when you were in your rugby career, so like 20 whatever to 2012, and as a child you actually did you feel quite comfortable?
No, no, to be honest. So yeah, I think talking to you now, you're probably right. It stemmed from when I was younger, because when I was at school, I always wanted to be bigger.
Mm,
So there were times where I would, well, as a kind of, because I played rugby at school a lot, we would be in the gym at 5 a.m. before school even started, which was fine. That was just kind of dedication to be a better player and make it as a
mm,
professional player coming out the back of school. But I think it was things like I would wear 3 t-shirts and a jumper to make myself look bigger, while at school.
yeah.
And then and then I think from leaving school, I think it was always hammered into me, um, from playing rugby, you're not big enough. You need to be bigger. You need to get in the gym. And then when I left Bath and I signed for Exeter Chief, where I met you. I was basically told I was too small to be a professional player. So they locked me in the gym for 12 months, and all I did was lift weights and eat and put on size. Um, and I did that, and then and I think that's probably where, yeah, a lot of it does come from.
Mm,
Is really being that hammered into me as I was kind of from 15, 16, 17, all the way through to going into the academy at Bath and going to Chiefs. Was like, you need to be bigger. If you want to make it as a rugby player, you need to be bigger. And maybe kind of without realizing, that has played an effect or has had an effect on me. Because when I then decided to take the steroids, it was about size for me.
mm,
It wasn't about being kind of lean, and I was lean, but it wasn't about being kind of small. My goals were just put on as much size as you can, get to as big as you can. And maybe, yeah, and like, I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head. It probably has stemmed from that kind of younger age, which I've never really thought about too much, to be honest.
mm.
Which took me down that route, I think.
It makes complete sense though, doesn't it? Like as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, and you have this dream, or even if you don't have a dream, but there's just this narrative around you that if you want to
Mm,
be successful, you want to make it. And I guess that's no different to those people that grow up in a family where they are, talking about weights and, you mustn't be too big or you mustn't be, whatever. Then obviously they often grow up that narrative of like, I mustn't gain weight. And then they fall into that vicious
mm.
cycle where they try not to and then they do, and round and round. So yeah, it's so important, isn't it, for this narrative when we're younger, but there's no way you could have got away with that because that wasn't you, it wasn't your family, it was your coaches, and that was the environment that you loved being in, and that was their truth as well, and maybe still is their truth.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I hope I've been out of the professional game for quite a while now, so I hope things have changed within that, and I think they look after their players a bit better now. And maybe, like you said, that narrative, I think they've got more psychology support, they've got more kind of health and well-being support, and it's not just solely focused on your size. But yeah, that was the narrative then for me, and I guess without realizing, that was kind of what I was then led to believe, and I just kind of carried that through, and I carried that through after my career as well.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I said, but I think times have hopefully moved on, um, and they kind of look after the well-being of players a lot better now.
Yeah, yeah, let's hope. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And if anyone's listening who's like, oh, I need to talk to this guy, where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm not so active on social media anymore, but if anyone does want to reach out, it's just Adam X Clayton on Instagram is probably the best place. Yeah, I'm always happy to kind of share my stories and help if anyone wants any advice, or just share their kind of story. Then I'm happy to help on that. Or if anyone needs some support coming off steroids, and to understand the harmful benefits of it, and if you're thinking about it, really think twice, make sure you do your research on it, and don't get caught up in, I guess, kind of uh, the dangers of going down that route, because you don't know where it could take you, you don't know what you're buying. It's all black market steroid. You don't know kind of really what it is, so you just have
Yeah,
to be very aware.
amazing. Thank you so much. And I will no doubt speak to you soon.
That's all right. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers, Adam.